All right. Welcome to another episode of Survival Mode. I am truly blessed and honored to have somebody on that really, I have to say, inspires me in so many different ways. But I have Chuck Keels on, and he was on an earlier podcast with his late wife, Hannah, in episode 8, and their story is truly amazing. Their cancer and healing journey and what they have done in the community, helping others really grow and thrive and do all kinds of wonderful things in the cancer community. Chuck had reached out to me early on when I was doing podcasts and shared his story, and I was blown away for sure. And I was eager to have him and his wife on, and both of their stories were amazing. And recently his wife Hannah had passed, and there's such a new journey and new learning and all kinds of amazing things. Chuck was featured on TVN. He's been just an inspiration for a lot of people. So, Chuck, welcome again to the podcast, man.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me on. You want to know who's blown away?
Oh.
I'm blown away. This journey and this story, what happened and what it turned into. My head's spinning on a daily basis, and it's one of those things that I do public speaking now, and I get chills telling this story 7 years after it started, and so I'm honored to join you, Todd.
Yeah, and both your stories, please, anyone tuning in, definitely listen to podcast 8 with them. But Chuck, I swear I still get goosebumps when I hear your story. So would you mind indulging me and sharing a just an amazing story, and then kind of how things have started to progress for you, for sure.
Absolutely. So, I love telling the story of how it all started because it's why I'm doing what I do now. And let me jump right into it. In 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. I had things going. I knew something was going on. I know my body pretty well. I was a gym guy. I was pretty fit guy, and basically started having aches and pains and lost some weight. My energy was changing. I knew something was going on, but I kept putting it off. And finally got so bad that I finally went to an emergency room near my house. And the diagnosis came down that I had stage 4 prostate cancer, and waited way too long to do anything about it. And what happens with cancer is it goes to where it's fed. So the cancer ended up getting into my bone marrow and my lymph nodes, which carried it all over my body. So I was completely saturated with cancer. And the test I got back from the nuclear bone scan they do said that I had cancer in 90% of the bones in my body. And so, as you can imagine, like, how is this dude still sitting here talking to us right now? And what happened was I was sent home and I was put in hospice, and I was starting down that path. My goal was to actually get my 2 boys back to Ohio, where my family could take care of them once I melt away. And the day I was supposed to fly out of Phoenix, Arizona into Columbus, Ohio, I suffer a compression fracture. So all that cancer running around inside of my bone marrow, breaking down the bones, we call that metastasis. Mm-hmm. And basically it got to the point where my body just said, I can't hold you up any longer. And I suffered a compression fracture, and 2 of the discs in my back collapsed into the nerves and everything. And I was on the floor. I couldn't move. The fire department get me to a nearby hospital. I'm taken into emergency surgery there. And after 2 surgeries, the second one, actually, they put a port in because before this, with the cancer being so bad, when they said hospice was being brought in, they weren't thinking about putting a port in or doing anything to fight the cancer. They were just like, let's try to get him comfortable as we can. because we don't know how much longer he's going to be around. But in one of the surgeries, they actually put my port in my chest to take in the chemo. And in the recovery room at this hospital, I'm laying there flat on my back. All I want to do is go upstairs and see my two boys. And the room turned unexplainable, weird cold. And as I scrunched up on the still on the hospital bed, like gurney, I scrunched up and I looked to my right because I'm thinking that's where the big double doors are, where they're taking the patients in and out. And somebody left the door open and the cold air is coming through. And when I looked down, the door was shut. And I'm thinking, well, what is going on here? Where did this cold air come from? And as I start to pan back to my left, I kind of jump because there's somebody standing there. And in my head, I'm thinking it's a doctor, it's a nurse. And pretty soon the person standing there, all I can kind of see is a brown robe, white scarf, just a shadow of a beard in the face, because I couldn't make out, like who it did. I couldn't see his face well enough to think, who is standing next to me 5 feet from me. And then his right foot does a step towards me and his hand comes out and he reaches and touches me on the shoulder. And right when he touched me on the shoulder, I glanced up at him and he's gone. So the person was there, now they're gone. And in my head, I hear, you're in the presence of Jesus.
Oh my God.
Old Catholic boy from Ohio that quit going to church a long time ago. I always say I wasn't really getting fed everything I needed. And so basically I'm laying there flipping out. Why me? What just happened and why me? Well, that day they get me back up to my room to see my boys, and the nurses come in and give me my meds. And they say, okay, here's your bone strengtheners, here's your steroids. Your pain meds are as needed on an as needed basis. So how bad is your pain right now? And I'm laying there, and then I hit the button and bring the bed up to a seating position. And I'm actually sitting now and I'm looking at him and I'm just like, I don't feel any pain. And the nurses are like, you just broke your back and had surgery. Order something. And so basically I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't like taking aspirin. I'm not ordering a drug if I don't need it. From May 26th, 2015 to sharing the story with you guys right now, I never touched another pain med. And I was getting pain meds from hospice, from the hospital, from my doctors. I had a pile of pain meds on my kitchen counter that I put in 2 grocery bags and took them over to a fire department to dispose of them because I didn't need them and I didn't want them laying around. Yeah. So basically also something pretty cool happened that night. And that day, May 26, 2015 was my huge life-changing moment. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. But what I didn't realize, which I realized over the next couple of weeks of like what just happened and who visited me in my room, what I realized over me not having pain, me starting to swim in the pool, me running hills at a park, was I was completely healed of stage 4 cancer when I was touched on the shoulder by Jesus. And that was, I mean, that's a crazy thing for anybody to hear or say, right? Yeah. And so basically what also happened that night at the hospital was I was still laying in my bed. It's cancer, feeling sorry for myself. I got 2 boys to raise at home. What's going on here? And what happens is I'm an early guy. I'm an old farm boy from Ohio. So normally I'm in bed by 9:30, lights out. And by 4:35 in the morning, I'm back up ready to go. And what happens is I didn't fall asleep at 9 or 10 or 11. I'm laying there watching the clock on the wall. And at midnight, I'm just laying there feeling sorry for myself. And I said, what gives? And I'm looking at the ceiling. It's like, God, it's me and you right now. What gives? And I start hearing things that just kind of blew me away. The first thing I heard was, you've been a fighter your entire life. What are you doing? And I knew what I was doing. I was feeling sorry for myself. I'm going through cancer, I'm dying. I'm and I knew what I was doing. And the next thing I heard was, as long as you're alive, be fully alive. As long as you're breath in your lungs and you're alive, be fully alive. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow. And I swing my legs off to the bed. I stand up and I have an IV pole. I have a back brace that I had to put on because of my back had I had a spinal collapse. And what happened was I was going to go to the bathroom and wash my face. I said, if I'm going to go wash my face and turn off my lights, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm going to right this moment right now, this is my turnaround time. But what happened was I didn't go to the bathroom and wash my face. I went to the hospital floor and I walked 2 laps around the hospital floor at a snail's pace, broken down body, back brace on, down 40 pounds, looked like a cancer guy. I'm melting away of cancer. And I get back to the room. I'm exhausted. I wash my face, turn off the lights, get in bed. And I looked at the ceiling and I said, hey, thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I needed this right now. As long as I'm alive, I'll be fully alive. I miss Chuck. I miss that smile. I miss making other people laugh. I miss that personality, of that I was gifted. And so basically, not only did I have a miraculous healing from stage 4 cancer that day with a visit from Jesus, I also had my first conversation with him. And so what I tell people is at 50 years old, after a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, I started a personal relationship with Jesus Christ for the first time in my life. And now I'm at church and or speaking at a church or whatever it may be, and you meet all these young dudes that are in their 20s and they're like just on fire with Jesus. And I'm watching them. I was like, I missed the boat. I wish that was me. But something Hannah always said was, this was God's plan for you. You had to go through all the things you went through in life of trying Chuck's plan and banging your head against the wall and all these things. And then when it was time, God said, okay, I need your attention. How about stage 4 cancer? and he got it. And I got a miraculous healing. And I said to myself, what do you do with this? And I started helping cancer people. And I didn't just go out looking for cancer people. They also started coming my way because social media is so powerful these days that my story started spreading. And I ended up writing a book. And I could get into so many of these little stories, Todd. We'd be on here all day.
Yeah.
But I had so many people telling me, and then a little God nudges, I call it, of write a book. And I'm like, I'm a landscape designer. Well, I don't know. I don't even like to read. How am I going to write a book? And I did. I actually had the coolest people put in my path over the next 6 weeks. I met authors. I met publishers. I met people that edit books. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. At a farmer's market in the weirdest places, I'm meeting people that all wanted to help me, write a book. And so I did. I wrote a book. Wasn't very good at for the first 5 or 6 weeks. And I'm sitting there trying to be an author. I'm like, I want to be an author. I'm going to be an author and write a book. I'm not an author, but I'm a storyteller. So what happened is when I realized, don't try to write, don't try to be an author and write a book. Try to just tell your story. Just like me and you sitting here right now, Todd, if we had a beer in front of us and we could hoop it up all night. Right.
Yeah. Telling stories,
so
right?
I told the story and I launched the book, and then I started getting invites to speak on stage at churches and businesses and schools. And first I was a little scared about that whole thing. And I was like, I design landscaping. I install landscaping. I oversee crews and I order materials and I make sure payroll's met on Friday. I know those things. I don't know anything about this, God. And I'm a little bit scared. And God told me that everything I did my entire life prepared me for this moment right now.
Wow. It's such a powerful story, because instead of viewing the stage 4 cancer as like, and we all go to that victim spot, you said you were in that spot, but, as a gift, I viewed my brain tumor very similarly. It changed my life in so many ways to the good that opened my eyes to which I would have never seen before. So I think the thing for me personally, when I hear your stories, because I feel very much like you. Like, I was raised Catholic, but never really had a relationship. Like, it was always this like, hey, I'm not good enough, so I didn't really go, so, but I believed in God, questionable about Jesus and the stories. I just didn't know. And I'm a believer now for sure. But after hearing your story, right? Like you were convinced, right? Because the before you was like, hey, right?
Just another dude, maybe even a little bit of a troublemaker. I've gotten a few bar spats, and I've gotten in a lot of trouble. I mean, I wouldn't say I was like a go to jail troublemaker, but I was a troublemaker. But it was all just listening to the devil and him just saying, hey, she's a cute girl, go hang out with her. Here's a good way to make money, go try this. There were so many distractions in life, and none of them had anything to do with really bettering my life long term. It was all that short term, hey, it looks pretty good right now, let's go in that direction. And so basically, like I said, God said is, I need your attention. How about stage 4 cancer? And like you just said, Todd, cancer is a huge teacher, because what happens when you get diagnosed with cancer is you stop everything and you look at your life and you go, what if this is a short journey? Did I do the things that I want to do in life? Did I achieve the things I want to do in life? Did I influence the people that I want to influence? Am I a good role model for my 2 boys? These were the things that cancer made me think about and speed up that whole process that might have taken years of bumping my head and trying to find on my own. Just happened in just a short period of time after the words, you got cancer, came out of my doctor's mouth.
Yeah, I could relate to that because it forced me to look at that as well. Like there wasn't anything money was going to bring me. Like when I was diagnosed, there wasn't anything like that. And the questions I asked was like, what is this here to teach me? And it was like, slow down and enjoy life, right? And not just like, the Tim McGraw song, Live Like You Were Dying, right? Although there is a verse in there, like, he talks about just having conversations with people and just deeper relationships. It was all about living and living life, not living the work, not surviving. I live my life in survival mode, hence that's why I named this. But I just thought it was such a teacher. And I think all these challenges can be such a teacher if we ask ourselves the right questions. And
Right.
what I
Hey, and
mean
one more.
ourselves, it could be God, right? It's
Right,
God.
right.
We are God, right?
Right. And one thing I want to add before we lose any listener that's on here that may be Catholic and are going, oh, these guys are beating up on Catholics. It's not just the Catholic religion. I found out I'm speaking on stage at churches now. I'm speaking in all, I don't ask them what religion is your church. I've got a message to share. But what I've realized is there's a lot of people that are not growing in church, but growing old in church. And what that means is, like my family, my mom said one time, your grandma would roll over in her grave if she knew you were going to that other church. They did things because their moms, grandmas, great grandmas, they did it also. And I went to the Catholic school. So I did not just Catholic church for 40 years. I went to Catholic school for 11 years. I'll get into a conversation about with anybody. But what happened with me was the thousands of people that I meet when I do what I do, and the numbers of people who said that I'm a recovering Catholic. And I said, I didn't know that was a phrase. I didn't know that, but it's not just Catholic. There's a lot of religions, man-made religion, okay? Believing that Christ is the Son of God, that's Christianity, and that's what we want everybody to believe and have that relationship with him. But man made something called religion, and now you get a cookie cutter type product, and you're like, this is what my family told me to do, or this is what my society told me to do. And by doing that, what happened with me was there was something personal of, I'm not getting what I need out of this. And maybe a hike on Sunday morning, watching the sun come up and just thanking God for that beauty around me may be my spiritual walk. But what I didn't realize, there's a lot more to it. And it took me going through stage 4 cancer and almost dying to realize of not just the miracle that happened to me. That was the eye opener, but what can you learn from this? And then what can you turn around and teach somebody else that will affect their life and maybe change their life?
Thanks for making that clarification, because definitely, whatever denomination, you're right, it's religion, and Jesus, if you pay attention to his stories, he was like, follow me. And he was the example, right? And it wasn't really about religion. It was about, the things that he did and being the son of God. So, it just so happens that, my journey was very similar to yours in that way, where I didn't feel connected. But if that type of religion helps you connect, by all means, that it's all, I kind of call it God's will. You know what I mean? So for sure. So before we, as we move on, when did you meet Hannah, and how did that start to kind of come together? Like, when did that come together?
So I basically took myself off the dating charts. I was 50 years old, and I basically had just went through a bout of cancer, and I was still dating, and it was mostly single moms in my area. Me being a single dad, I figured that was where I was supposed to be. And it was train wreck after train wreck, And so basically I took myself off the dating market, and I said, you know what? Why don't you take this time right now and focus on you? When you're a little better, and when you're doing things a little stronger, and when you're, then date and show the person that, not this mess that you're bringing to the table, And so what happened was I took myself off the dating market, and I started doing public speaking. I was still designing landscaping as a job to pay the bills. But I wrote my book. I was California, Ohio. I was running around doing public speaking events, which was all new to me. I was like, this is crazy, pinching myself. And basically, I'm sitting at my computer one night, and everybody that's on Facebook, you also have something called Facebook Messenger, which you can communicate with people. Mm-hmm. And then if they're not your friend on Facebook, there's another category that their message goes into that box. Mm-hmm. And what happened with me was I promised myself, because that box kept filling up, I said, I will sit down at least once a month and just go through and glance at everything and just clean it all out. And so it was that night, and I sat down and I was going through and I was deleting message after message, and I glanced at a message and it said something about, I know your cousin Heather. I have stage 4 breast cancer. I'm a single mom. Thinking about writing a book. And I was like, oh my goodness, the message was left 30 days ago, a month ago. Wow. And I was like, I can't believe this has been sitting here for a month. I get on and I respond right back. I'm so sorry I missed this message. Let's catch up for a cup of coffee. I'd like to meet you. And I hit send. And so a couple hours later, I heard a little response on my computer, and I walk over and look at it. And it's a girl named Hannah. And Hannah says, I would love to have a cup of coffee with you, but I'm in Holland right now. And I'm thinking, Holland, Ohio? What do you mean Holland? No, I'm in the Netherlands. I was born in Holland and was raised here until I was 6. And then my dad took a job in New York City and brought us to the United States. And so what happened in those 3 weeks, and this is kind of cool because this is another God story. God knows how much of a knucklehead I am and how much I would have blew that relationship if I would have met this beautiful girl like right away. And so he gave us 3 weeks to just text back and forth and get to know each other while she was there. And the conversation was absolutely incredible. It was incredible. And I even talked her into me picking her up at the airport when she flew into Columbus. Into Phoenix back from her trip. And we talked in her driveway for a couple hours. And then I said, I'm going home, I'm going to bed. Can I take you to breakfast? And I showed up in the morning and I took her to breakfast. And in our conversations about cancer and our faith and our kids and life, I said, I'd really like to ask you out on a date. I said, I just love the chemistry and your smile. And she had a great sense of humor. I was like, oh, this is just such a jackpot, right? And she said that I will go out on a date with you in one condition, that you understand if this gets serious, you're number two in my life because Jesus is number one. And here I am now as talking about my story and stuff. And I said, where have you been my entire life? And so basically, when someone says to speed this up, no, we didn't say that. We did it. We dated, we got engaged, we got married 4 months after we met. 4 months. 4 months. It was so cool because the conversations was like the foundation of life of what we really truly our core and what we believe in. It was all there. But we also understood we were both married in the past, and we're bringing all that to the party also, and none of that was going to ever be a deal breaker. What else do you need to know? We got married. We went to Oceanside, California, and played on the beach. We went from there to Flagstaff and played in the snow, and then we came home. And the number of calls coming in, her with breast cancer, me with prostate cancer, from people all over the country and a little bit around the world. She said, I think we should start a cancer foundation. And I said, I don't know anything about that. I have a landscaping business, and so we started researching it and got some advice from a couple attorneys. And in February of 2020, we launched Living Hope Cancer Foundation. And kind of the interesting thing about that was nothing changed. We were already supporting, we were already talking people off the ledge. We were already cultivating hope, which is hard to find out there because everybody uses it for a marketing word. Come here for hope. But if you don't have a legit story and a reason and a way to, tell them about hope, then it's just a word. And with us, I mean, you could tell within 5-10 minutes into a phone call that they were like, wow, okay, what do I do? And I'd say, okay, I want you to get on Amazon or go to Walmart and get a juicer. We're going to start getting things rolling here. Okay. And basically what happened was we would take somebody from getting that diagnosis and saying, I'm dying on my couch here in my living room to I'm fighting. What do I need to do? You could hear it in their voice. And I would get fired up too. I was like, oh, here we go. This is what we wanted right here. And so, I always tell people that you need to have two game plans. If the word or cancer or any other disease comes into your life, a medical plan and a personal plan. I don't handle the medical plan, but I do coach a little bit. And I try to tell them, be an advocate for yourself, ask the tough questions, fire a doctor if you're not happy and get a second or third opinion. That's all on the medical side. You're in charge of it, but I can't give you any advice there. Now let's talk about your personal fight. That's what Living Hope Cancer Foundation does. We talk about juicing and prayer and meditation and essential oils and moving your body. And what happens is all of a sudden the brain's engaged and it gets into this fight. And when you get a person's brain engaged in the fight, get out of the way. Get out of the way. It's on. And my favorite example was Hannah. Hannah was diagnosed with a very, very nasty form of stage 4 triple negative breast cancer 7 years ago. Lived 7 years with one of the nastiest form of cancer that we watched take women's lives left and right over the last, few years of coaching. And Hannah glowing, speaking on stage, driving an RV across the country while her crazy husband rode his bicycle for 3,000 miles with stage 4 cancer and, flying home to Phoenix a couple times for a cancer treatment. But this is the kind of lifestyle that you live when you get up and live, when you get your brain and your mind into this fight as well. It's a complete different story, of different than somebody melting away on the couch because their doctor said you might have 6 months or a year to live, and they buy that story and they melt away.
I love that. And, since I've known you, I've been watching your journey together, and in her journey, I saw you guys on the cross country, flipping over your handlebars on the bike, and the story is just phenomenal. And, you know, when I had both you on, the energy was great. And you guys are just really out there helping people. So, you know, and I did see along the journey that, you know, she had some challenges and, you know, you know, and that happened. So tell me a little bit about how the story kind of started to progress on her journey for her.
Well, I mean, we've had some pretty serious scares over the last 3 years. 5 months after we got married, her cancer started spreading into her back of her neck, and she had a surgery that actually took cancer out, took some bone out, and then restructured it with titanium. So that was one of the first things that happened. And along with that came all the crazy side effects from, you know, treatment. She got a radiation on a node that was in her lung, and it's what they call scattered, and it tore up a bunch of stuff in that area, and it got to the point where it affected her esophagus and she couldn't swallow, and they had to punch a hole in her stomach and put a feeding tube in for 6 weeks and for her to get to where she could start swallowing again. And then they were able to remove the feeding tube and she could go back to eating, you know, with like we do. But these are some of the things that we experienced over the last 3 years. There was a couple times where I was and she was melting and losing weight, and I was like, this is not good. And I'm calling her parents in North Carolina, and I said, you might want to come out here. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. So there were some scares, and every time we went through one of these scares, this girl, she would point at a wheelchair after a 7-hour spinal surgery where they actually took cancer and bone out of her lower spine. 7-hour spinal surgery, which was traumatic. And she's pointing at this electric wheelchair I bought from her. She said, that's temporary.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, you know, you're way tougher than me. You know, this is cancer. And she said, I can't walk like because of my spine, but if we go over to the swimming pool, we live in Phoenix, Arizona, you can swim almost all year round. But she would get in the swimming pool with a floaty and walk around in the pool. And I would watch this, and I got video of it and stuff. And it's just hard to believe. But she would point at that chair and say, that chair's temporarily. And 3 months after her spinal surgery, she started walking around again and going for bike rides with me and doing things like that. So basically, you know, we watched her cancer journey just do the roller coaster ride that most people go through that are dealing with cancer. And part of this whole journey was this foundation we started just blowing up all over the place. And people saying, hey, I would do this, or, you know, let me help you do this. And it was growing like crazy. And one of my cancer patients that I work with, he has brain cancer. He's up in Maine, and he's an avid cyclist. And we're on the phone one day, and he's like, I would love for you to start riding a bike. And I said, you know what? I was kind of thinking about it because I have a mountain bike, and after my cancer and losing all that muscle off my body is a chore. I went out a couple of times and just beat myself up and said, that's it, I'm done. But a road bike, that would be kind of cool. You know, you could stay on flat as long as you wanted to, or just concrete and stuff. And so basically, I bought a used road bike, and I started just training here in the Valley. And I told Hannah, I said, you know, Adam suggested that we do a ride across the country, and it'll get some crazy awareness for our foundation and inspire people to get up and live and be active, even through a cancer journey. So we started planning it. And we started pushing forward, and through her ups and downs of her cancer and her treatment and side effects from treatments and stuff, we and God just involved with every bit of it. And I'd say that just bold and honestly, there's things that should have never happened. And part of it was, where do you stay when you're riding across the country? We didn't own an RV. We looked at hotels, but some of the stops, there wasn't hotels. So we're trying to figure all this out. And we did a speaking event for Keller Williams, an inspirational breakfast. And somebody called 2 days later and said, I was sitting behind you guys and I couldn't believe your story. and went home and told my wife, look, pulled it up on the computer, and we're looking at your website and all the stuff that you guys are doing while after your stage 4 cancer, while she's going through stage 4 cancer. And we have an RV in storage and we'd like to donate it for the use of this event. And I go, what?
Wow.
How does this even happen? I mean, a couple weeks before the event, we did not have an RV, and a call came in. We had an RV, and I said, we're going to put 6,000 miles on your RV, 3,000 miles across, 3,000 back. And they go, we're okay with that. We talked about it. We're okay with that. So everything that happened, I call it the bride that probably should have never happened. In reality, us humans just thinking about, you don't have funding, you don't have an RV, you don't. They just fell into place because all we did was in our morning coffee, and we have a little Bible study each morning. Me and Hannah would do a Bible phrase and talk about it and stuff. We'd say a little prayer for all of our kids and our family and people we love and everything. And then we would say, God, should we just cancel this whole thing and just maybe reschedule it a year from now? And we both kept getting the message just to trust him. And so the event went off, and we started in San Diego on March 28th. And through the challenges of getting an older body, into shape, riding out of San Diego through mountains and all kinds of crazy stuff, I started getting stronger. Each day on the event, God would put people on our path. It ended up being this unbelievable journey. And I'm going across the country with my wife and my dog. Wow. It was absolutely beautiful, beautiful. And like you said, it was like day 55 or 56. I went over the Mississippi River and was going down the other side and hit a metal grate in the road, and my bike stopped, and I didn't. Went over the handlebars, landed on my face and my head, and was rushed to a hospital. I was knocked out. I was rushed to the hospital. And after all the scans, they said, well, you definitely hyperextended your spine and your neck, but the only thing broken is the bridge of your nose, and that's because you had shatterproof glasses on. The glasses hit the ground and smashed into my face. And after 9 days of in a hotel and some light stretching and swimming in a pool, I got back on the bike and finished the last 700 miles. And we went into St. Augustine, Florida on June 10th. And this is crazy because Todd, we had a walkie-talkie speaker in our ear. Hannah's driving the RV behind me, 30, 40 yards. I'm on this bike. And we've got about 2 more blocks to go and we're going to be done. And here's Hannah going through stage 4 cancer. And she comes into my earpiece and she says, well, here we go. Last couple blocks, buddy. Ride like a thriver. Wow. She said, I want you to know it's been an honor to be your safety vehicle. And I started crying right there. I'm like, I'm the one honored. You're going through stage 4 cancer, and we had to go all the way across the country, and you had to fly back to Phoenix twice for treatments. And you're saying you're honored to be my safety vehicle? That's the kind of person she was. And we celebrated. We spoke on the beach in a pavilion they had rented. We went to dinner with a bunch of our volunteers for the Cancer Foundation. And we had a blast. We got pictures, and it was just a blast. And we got to the bed and breakfast in St. Augustine, Florida, which was just beautiful. And she started getting a migraine headache in the middle of the night. And it ended up, she just rode 75 days across the country, 2.5 months. And that night, things ended up putting her in a hospital in Orlando. And what we found out was there were some brain tumors that showed up. When feeding, and he just thought, let's get home. So he flew her home, and me and my son drove the RV back. And the last 4 months were very challenging.
Yeah.
The pain that Hannah went through, um, there's, I mean, huge dudes playing pro football and stuff couldn't do what she did.
Mm.
Um, she had broken bones from the cancer spread. She had full brain radiation and started losing her hearing and having all kinds of crazy side effects from it. And she couldn't take the good pain meds that would make you comfortable because she would get nauseous and throw up.
Uh,
And so here's Hannah going through cancer spread, broken bones, all this crazy stuff on Tylenol. You know, it was that crazy. And the last couple weeks, I just seen her body was shutting down. And one of our friends that's a surgeon said, you know, it's not the cancer, it's the side effects from all this radiation on the brain and chemotherapy, and her organs just started shutting down. So November 29th, I was sitting with her mom and dad in from North Carolina and her 4 boys.
yeah.
And she smiled right in my eyes. She just looked at me and smiled, and she poked her lips out. And I gave her a kiss, and she laid down, and she went into this like different, her breathing was different, her sleep was different. And she didn't open her eyes again, but she stayed in that mode until all of her family was around the bed. And then she stopped breathing. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know, it's just Hannah. You know, she knew she was going, and she just smiled and gave me a goodbye kiss.
Wow.
And you know, you go through all the crazy stuff about end of life, loved one, losing a loved one, us dying ourselves. You know, how many times have we dodged that bullet and got around that? But every single one of us is going to die someday. But we get into kind of a fear mode because it's like, so what happens? You know, where do you go? What happens then? But then I realized the importance of that, my journey through cancer 7 years ago, and me finding a relationship with Jesus. Because what I honestly know is that Hannah's in heaven with the Lord. And I know Hannah's not in pain. In the last 4 months were so rough that knowing she's not in pain, she's not suffering, she doesn't have cancer, and she's with Jesus in heaven, that gives me a place of rest and peace. That's how I can sleep at night. That's how I can deal with this and be productive the next day, of understanding that we celebrate a baby being born. We celebrate like amazing things that happen through our lives, but we're afraid of death, but it's a part of our lives. And so, you know, in my prayer time, God said, celebrate her life. And so I mourn my wife being gone. I mourn the big hole that's left in you coming home to your house, and, you know, all their stuff's here. But I celebrate because we're all going to die, and I want to be where Hannah's at now.
It's such a powerful story in so many ways. And, you know, just like being diagnosed with cancer, right? Or having a gut punch, you know, I'm blessed that I didn't get a cancer diagnosis. But you know, at a middle of the road tumor that could come back for sure. But it makes you look at life a whole lot differently, right? And I found that unless people kind of have this personal experience, right, it's hard to get wrapped around it. Now you have this unique opportunity or experience because you've been working with cancer patients, you know, coaching them, and they pass, and it's heartbreaking and it's sad. But this was so close to home. This is home. Tell me a little bit more about how that's been for you.
So in the last 5 years of coaching cancer people, you lose beautiful people. And I'm a softie. You know, I become best friends with their whole family. I love them. And so it was always just a big tearjerker when I lost somebody because of their cancer. And at that point, I didn't have a clue what to say to the family.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, God puts me through a journey. And now I know what to say to the family. I'm experiencing it right now myself and understanding Hannah's journey. And some pretty remarkable things have happened in the last, 5 weeks. The first thing is the thousands and thousands of emails and messages from all over the world of people that were inspired by Hannah. And a lot of people, because of Hannah's faith, said, I'm a believer now because of Hannah. Or I was a believer, but I'm a stronger believer now because of Hannah. And so basically, over the last few years of actually losing somebody that I was coaching and their family being very upset, being angry. You've been around people that have lost somebody, and what do they say? Why? Why did this happen? My husband and I, he was getting ready to retire in 2 years. We're going to buy an RV and we're going to see the whole countryside. That's our plan. And now he's gone. Why would that happen? And not would they say at one time, but I've been around people that 3 years later are still angry, still upset. Why did that happen? And so as I was sitting there responding to over 2,000 messages, I responded to every single one of them, and all over the world. And basically at the end of 4 days of sitting there, and God said, now you know the why. You don't have to be angry like that person that lost somebody and didn't know the why. Now you know the why. Hannah's journey inspired way more than we'll ever know. The waves that have rippled out from what we have done in the last 3 years, it's pretty neat stuff. And can you get up and live? Can you smile? Can you dance? Can you cook dinner? Can you whatever it may be after a cancer diagnosis? And Hannah just blew it off the map. And so the people that I hope never have to go through cancer that are watching this and that have watched our story, I see how Hannah inspired them, and that's the why, and that's what I can be at peace with. And something else that has happened, Todd, our little cancer foundation that we launched in February of 2020 is blowing up. It's hard to keep up with. It's that busy. I actually hired our first employee to help me, because I can't do some of the stuff that Hannah was doing. And there's a lot of stuff that she likes. I'm the as you can tell, I'm the hugger, I'm the big mouth, I'm that guy. I'm the front office, she's the back office.
She's the back office.
So the website, the store selling t-shirts and books, the MailChimp that keeps you in touch with people that have touched on your site. There's a lot of stuff. And I was like, I could learn this, but I don't have enough time in my day to learn these things. So I had to hire somebody. And this little cancer foundation that coaches Get Up and Live, you could go to getupandlive.org right now and see all of the stuff that we've been doing and have cool plans coming up in the future. This little foundation is blowing up. And one of the new things right now that keeps really in the back of my mind, and it's got me just ready to just drop the hockey gloves and start swinging. And that would be the Hannah's dream. All the things that Hannah wanted to put in place and Hannah had dreams of doing. Now it's my job to make sure those things get done.
That's amazing. I'll tell you, like, I'm speechless, like, with a lot of this, for sure. And I've watched your journey. We've gone back and forth on Messenger. You've helped me in a hard time, for sure. And we all go through them. And talk to me a little bit about the grieving process for you. And because I know that a lot of your listeners and a lot of mine, there is anger, like you said, like why? And I'm blessed in a way that I don't know. And I have to say it's God's work because it's not Todd's work, that I didn't go into a lot more self-pity and victim stuff that I did. I asked different questions like, what's God trying to show me and what can I learn here? So now that you're having this experience, and it's hard, we were just talking before the podcast, and it's hard. So tell me about that, the grieving for yourself and some of the things you've learned. And you're learning it's because this is a long stretch, not a short stretch, right?
Right, right. Well, I always look at us through my cancer coaching as we're animals. We have things that we do consciously and subconsciously, and the subconscious things are the things like, you've taught yourself to, not touch a hot stove, not walk out in front of a car, not, those are physical things. And then the mental things, about, maybe something in a relationship that really bothered you. And so what happens is, me being divorced, anybody I dated that sounded like my ex-wife, I would just go the other way. These are things that we program ourselves to protect yourself. And so in the grieving process, it's painful. And there's a lot of heartbreak and loss and just shock and things that go with that. But just like anything else in life, if you don't take it head on, you're going to carry it for years and years and years. And so basically, the hard things for me, of course, was giving a lot of Hannah stuff to her friends. I'd rather for them to have it than just donate it, to Goodwill or something. So a lot of her friends come over and I helped carry stuff to their car. Very hard to do. I got on an airplane. Hannah booked all my flights. I was completely spoiled, so I had to book the flight myself, get on a flight to Ohio, go back for Christmas, walk into my parents' house without her. I didn't want to do any of these things, but I made myself do them. And so what happens is I'm pushing myself through the hard things that would be very easy to just ignore them, just go the other way. I'm going through them because not only do I want to get through this process faster, and that's what it's going to allow me to do, but I also want to learn from what I'm going through so that based on the fact that I am a cancer coach and have lost people to cancer, I'm going to be able to help other people that are going through this very, very difficult time in life, and now I understand, when I talk to somebody and they said, we talk about cancer and they'd say, oh, by the way, I lost my mom 3 years ago and I've been in depression ever since. Now I understand that. Now I understand how to help them out of it. This is a new breaking ground for me. Just like everybody else, I've been to the grieving process at churches, what they teach. I've got books laying on my desk, just like everybody else. But I also knew that I was going to those classes for myself, yes, but also to learn all the different aspects of this process so that I can turn around and teach somebody else that are dealing with it also. My story, as you know, Todd, and you've talked to Hannah, it's so, this girl just lit up the room. Her personality, her sense of humor, everything was just like exaggerated. She was such a beautiful person to be around that people were attracted to her everywhere we went. And, to lose somebody like that is just so hard, so difficult. And so I'm gonna stay close to God. I'm gonna keep plowing through this. And it's got the ups and downs, and I think I'm doing great. And I'm 3 hours today. I'm working on something, and I'm doing good. And a song comes on the radio, and I'm, bawling like a baby. Or last night, I got a call from somebody that doesn't follow us on social media, and they actually called and asked how she was doing. not knowing that she passed away 5 weeks ago. And it just brings it all back. And it's very difficult. But you know what? I want to be able to celebrate the babies coming into this world. I want to celebrate the cool things that we do with our lives and our stories and our journey. And I want to be able to celebrate someone's life when they're gone and say, wow, that's so cool.
That is so cool. And, when you were just sharing that, isn't that what Jesus did? Like his biggest impact was dying, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like, think about it, right?
me and my kids are having a ball right now watching The Chosen, because it shows you Jesus and his life, and they go, he was a real person walking this earth, for 33 years. And basically, it's kind of fun. It's like it's a learning process for me. It's part of my learning. But I think I'm doing it right. I think I'm doing it right.
Wow. My gut wants to say, you could do it wrong too, and it just happened. You know what I mean? Like, I think everything, if we're open and curious and good to just honor what's there, that's the way. Like, and I'll share a side note. Like how your journey just goes. Like, I loved how the different things, like, for some reason, like I used to do corporate stuff, corporate medical device stuff, and now I'm doing standard home care. And I'm like, over a year doing it, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm back at the bedside. Like, and I'm 51 years old. Like, how did I get here? But talk about the joy in the journey. Is I don't share my story often, but I start patients that come into the home. And for certain patients, I'll share my story. And I share stories with people that may have cancer or some diagnosis that's pretty darn serious. And their walls drop down. And they're like, oh, like you kind of get this, right? And it's the joy in that journey. Like, I feel like, because there's somebody that recently passed and young, 59, I think that's young, right? And family, and the story was just amazing. And I was just like, how you doing? And she knew my story, and I knew what to say, and I just knew how to be there, and I was surprised at like how my journey is that inspiration, or allows people to open up to share their story and get what they need. And that's what I love about your story.
Yeah. What I realized was through my coaching and through my telling my story at the grocery store, or, I take my dog with me everywhere, and people just love him. And I go, I got him after I went through a journey with stage 4 cancer, and the conversation just goes right into that. And so I get to tell my story a lot. I tell it all the time. I tell it every day, 3 times, 15 times. I love telling it, because what a lot of people don't realize is they have a story. And
Right.
especially my people I'm coaching with cancer and stuff, they've got a story. You've got a story. And there's people out there that need to hear the story.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, that's the beauty about sharing your story, is you're going to help somebody else. But if Todd or Chuck or somebody that's, doing what we do didn't tell them that, they would never know. So I'm constantly coaching people to tell their story, because there's people around them that need to hear it.
I can't say, you can't express that enough, because I tell people all the time, share your story. And I also say that your own perception of your own story, or your biggest misfortune or biggest challenge, is often your greatest gift.
Yeah.
It's always, I think, your greatest gift, because no matter how far down you've gone, you could share how your experience could help somebody else out. And man, I've, blessed to have known you this time. And, your story inspired me, and Hannah's story inspired me. And I did this podcast not just for you. I do this podcast because I want people to share their story. And then usually after the podcast, people are like, oh my God, thank you so much. And there's something to them sharing their story that is great for them, but you never know. And I want people to reach out to whoever shared their story, because they might have it. Because I have people reaching out to me from Australia, like, somebody has a brain tumor just like, my husband has it just like yours, and we get going on stuff on how we could really help other people. So
Yeah. So, basically, I wrote a book, then Hannah wrote her book, and then we wrote a book together, which is, if you haven't read it, oh my gosh. If we, in this book, this third book we did together called Get Up and Live, you could find it on Amazon, or easiest is just go to our website, getupandlive.org. And we've got all of our tools and all of our things, free cancer coaching content on there. My deal where the 700 Club came to my house in Scottsdale and videoed me and put me on TBN, and thousands and thousands of people saw it, and people are still contacting me for speaking events for that. And basically, on like I said, on the site is a store where we have our books, but Get Up and Live is on there. Hannah's book is on there. It's phenomenal. That's the first thing I suggest when, especially when it's a woman, because it's a woman's story of went through some really tough, journeys in life, and then wrote about them and wrote about her faith. But then our book, Get Up and Live, is the two of us talking back and forth through each chapter, and it is phenomenal. And it's not only a tool for somebody going through cancer, but it's an inspirational tool for anybody in this world that wants to say, you know what, these guys, 2 stage 4 cancer people, did this while she was going through stage 4 cancer and treatments and surgeries and stuff. It's a life-changing book. And it's, like I said, it's on Amazon, it's on getupandlive.org. And basically the foundation's growing. It's a beautiful thing. I always tell people, because I've had business people say, how did you guys do this in the last 2.5 years? It's worldwide. And you guys, while Hannah was going through treatment and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not smart enough to do this. God orchestrated the entire thing. And so I let him orchestrate the entire thing. I'm a hard worker, and I don't know what he's going to have in store for me today, tomorrow, next year, but I know that I will jump in, and I will, keep building. And I know that the foundation is helping so many people around the world that inspires me to work hard to make sure that it's something that's, irrelevant, or we're up to date, we're new things, and it's constantly stuff going on. And we're starting to work a little bit with the medical industry now, which is really cool, because they love the fact that we're coaching people to get up and live and get their mind and the brain power into this game. And so we've got a lot of things to do, and a lot of Hannah's dream to put in place. And we got some exciting things in the making right now that me and Hannah's been working on for the last year. When they come out, it's just going to be, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I love it, man. And you're helping so many people, and you're continuing to do that. Let me ask you a question. This is for those people that are struggling, grief, going through cancer. What's a hard day for you?
No such thing. No,
Okay.
I don't have hard days. I have hard moments.
Hard moments. Okay.
So here's the difference. So people have hard moments, and if you don't get on top of it, it turns into a hard day, hard week, hard month, hard year, and it'll beat you down. So what's happened in me in my life is called identifying a situation. So something happens, anything. It could be with the foundation. It could be with Hannah's passing. It could be as a dad with my kids. It could be just normal human stuff. And if you don't identify it and say, you know what, let's nip this in the butt right now, because I don't want to be sitting here 3 hours from now in a funk, right? So I identify problems so fast now. And I also look at them and go, I'm a problem solver. Can I fix this? And if I can't, here you go, God, it's yours. I'm giving it to you, because I don't want to carry this. I
Mhm.
give everything I can't change to God, and I keep moving forward. And so my tough moments are very tough moments. I'm human just like everybody else, and just went through a shocking experience losing Hannah. I don't have bad days though. I have bad moments, but get out of the fear. And with me, it's by faith. It's no fear, faith, keep moving forward. And for anybody out there that's maybe not a believer or that hasn't been around this kind of stuff in your life and are hearing something like, how do you even do that? Basically, I'm not a praying guy. I don't get on my knees by the bed and pray. I just chat with God everywhere I'm at. Like I could be on the way to the grocery store. I could be watering plants in the backyard, and I'll say a little thing. Hey, God, you know what? There's something going on with the foundation that I'm looking at right now, and I don't really understand it. And I don't know why this is happening. I need your help. I turn everything into a prayer. I use my faith. I eliminate the fear and the devil just kicking people's tails and just winning these battles. And I let him kick my tail for a lot of years. And he won a lot of battles in my life, and he set me back a lot of times in my life. And I said, you know what? I'm done with it. I don't work for you no more. You know what? You ruined my life. You lied to me. I've had so many setbacks and problems, and I don't work for you anymore. And I'm going to identify that as something that's toxic in my life and trash it right now and move into a better place. So it's all about identifying things and changing the ones that you can change. And if you can't change it, give it to God and keep your butt moving. Keep your feet pedaling. Keep going.
Get up and live, right?
Get up and live. Get up and live.
I love it. I always tell myself, I have a mantra in my head: we do hard things, and I put one foot in front of the other. We do hard things. We do
That's
hard
right.
things.
All day long. All day long.
All day long.
Yeah.
Oh, Chuck, man, I am truly blessed and honored to have you share this part of the journey. And obviously the early part of the journey is great. And I got an inspiration as you were sharing, and you said the word Hannah's dream. Maybe that's a title somewhere, right? Hannah's dream.
Yeah. It started out as just a thought, maybe something God planted in my head, and it's already turned into something that I'm like, whoa. I was working with a lady, and she said Hannah's dream, and I was like, what did you just say? That is so cool. It's branded in my head, and there's a lot of things that are going to we're gonna definitely get in place, and they definitely all fall under the category of Hannah's dream. And what better thing to do with your business, your foundation, and your purpose in life than to just celebrate her life by making these things happen.
One more thing I wanted to touch on, because it's outlined and done in action through everything that you're doing. And you just brought it to my mind. And I've studied this a little while. And a lot of times when people are feeling down or they're struggling, they need a mission. They need a mission.
It might be a little mission. It might be a big mission. I mean,
exactly.
What I've seen is when you give service to somebody else, you forget about your own problems, and I don't care if it's helping a little old lady get your groceries from the grocery store and put them in her car for her. There's so many cool things you can do for your fellow man and the people around you. And as soon as you start doing something for somebody else, you forget about all your problems. And I love that.
Yeah. The 12-step fellowship, Alcoholics Anonymous, right? We carry this message to others, right? So we get out of our selfish minds, because we're consumed. Thinking about our problems is self-centered. And so we get out and just go and help somebody. It could be, hey, I got a mission to clean my whatever, or help my neighbor clean that, help my wife, my husband, whatever, right?
But it might not even be an activity. It might be just the fact that you stopped and talked to him for a few minutes and just smiled and made him laugh. And I hug total strangers. I don't run up and scare them and hug them. I have a conversation with them. And I said, well, just wanted to say hi to you. Have a super day. And they love it, and they feel it, and they will hug you. And it's just I got the coolest job in the world. I hug people all day long.
Nice. That's fantastic. You know, I'll tell you, you and your mission and Hannah's mission and Hannah's dream, man, I can't wait to see it unfold because I watch your story, you know, and I'll send you a message like, oh my God, Chuck, that's awesome, and it's just great. And all of your information we'll have here in the show notes where, we'll post it, tag it, we want to make sure that everything gets out to help as many people. And any final words, anything you feel inspired?
No, I mean, I think that I just want to make sure people know that I'm available. People go on and watch some of the videos and stuff, and it's okay. I mean, it's definitely powerful, but I think also lead into us, lead into me as a cancer coach. I mean, on the bottom of my email or my website is my email. Drop me a note. I want to know what you're going through, and I want to know if you need to talk. I want to know if we need to get on the phone and have a conversation about what you're dealing with so that I can help you through this journey as well. Part of your homework is going to be after we talk to go onto the website and watch the videos and take notes or whatever you need to do to really soak these things up. But I want to make sure that people know that it's not just a site out there. It's the site's getting more and more powerful content all the time. And it's out there to help people. Like I said, mainly because of cancer, a cancer patient, a cancer caregiver, come in. But if you might be somebody that it's not cancer, but you just need a little inspiration in life and you go on and watch some of the videos and stuff, I want to talk to everybody. I love to be available and I love to have the conversations and I love to know who you are and where you're from and how you're doing. And then I'll ask them at the end of the call, if I don't hear from you in 2 or 3 weeks, is it okay if I call you? And they're kind of surprised and they're like, yeah. And I do, I follow up. It's part of me as the old sales guy. I want to know what's going on and how you're doing. There's a lot to be said by this type of a lifestyle compared to just sitting there and watching my evening news and it was so negative and it was so but a downer, and now doing something where I'm making even somebody with cancer smile. It's pretty phenomenal.
That is awesome. And I could attest to you getting back to people throughout probably one of the most challenging times of your life. I know I sent you a message and you got back to me, and you must have had thousands of messages.
Thousands.
You did.
I'm not kidding you. If I don't respond, like I'm sitting there at breakfast, you know how you see somebody at a table and like they're like everybody's on their phone, but I have to because I'm working and I'm responding to all these questions and messages and stuff. And if I don't respond then and wait 3 or 4 hours, it's double the next time I pull it up. And that's not a complaint. What a cool problem to have, right?
Yeah.
But that's the goal is to we're going to take stage 4 cancer, my wife, mine, we're going to take that journey and we are going to change the world. We have some things that are going to happen with this foundation, with our drive and with our goals. And I've got some really cool business people now coming out of the woodwork going, you know what? I love what you're doing and I want to help you. What can I do? So this some people may think it's hot air, but we will change the world and make it a better place with what started out as a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. And I could very well have curled up in a ball and just melted away. And I said, no, what are we going to do with this?
I love it. I love it. And like I said, I'm honored that you appeared here for my audience, and we want to share this to whoever needs some help and get the word out even more. So, Chuck, man, so appreciate you showing up for me, showing up for today, and sharing this amazing story and experience, man.
Thank you for being my friend, Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck, man. Thanks, brother.